Oh, man. I'm just thinking back. I really am thinking back. Oh, man, they're so stupid. They are so stupid. It is unbelievable. Oh, man, I needed that laugh. I needed that laugh so badly today. It's unbelievable. I apologize, guys. I apologize for starting the podcast off this weekend with me laughing hysterically. I'm just thinking back to the summer of 2019 when WWE hired 2 new executive directors to oversee Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. WWE's creative failures were being brought to the public eye, and Vince McMahon needed to calm the storm, or weather the storm, in the shareholders meeting that he had over the summer. I'm going to remove myself from the weeds and let 2 new names and 2 new faces oversee the creative direction of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. Oh, man. It was like, it was just stated yesterday. Now, I love laughing at them. I really do. I love laughing at their creative failures. I love the fact that WWE knows they are messing up, and then they try to justify the fact that they are right when we all know that they're wrong. WWE knows that they're messing up, nor do they care, and they just continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again, man. It's hilarious. It's like a comedy show. I live for WWE's creative failures. I do. Now, I don't know who you are. If you were excited about these moves that were made in the summer, man, you look like a fool. You look like a fool. I also laugh at you as well. Now, you might have had hope. I didn't have any hope. The little speck of hope that I had, the little piece of dust of hope that I had was quickly extinguished by WWE. As soon as we rolled on into SummerSlam, I'm like, there's no change here. There's no executive directors here on Monday Night Raw. What are these positions? Are they made up? And as the weeks went on, and we had Bischoff and Heyman overseeing their respective brands, I laughed. And then the news broke this week, after the WWE Draft, which was a complete failure. Everything about it was a complete failure. Eric Bischoff was in the news, not because he's overseeing SmackDown Live as Executive Director of Creative, but Eric Bischoff was in the news because he was terminated, fired from WWE. Everybody wanted my opinion on it. Everybody was like, JD, what do you think of this? What do you think of this big news that happened this week? I looked at everybody's tweets. I looked at all the comments in my recent videos uploaded to the channel. And I stood there and I sat there and I read each and every one of them, and I'm like, I don't care. This is news to you? Now, if you watch the podcast over the summer, you will have known already that A, this was going to happen, and B, the reason why then that Bischoff was going to be fired, or why Bischoff was even in that position, and it could probably be said for the same as Paul Heyman is concerned. Same thing could be said about Paul Heyman. The reason why they are there is for one reason and one reason only. And if you listened to the podcast this summer, you will know the answer to this already. Please, you know it already. I don't have to explain it. But I'm going to anyway. On this episode of Off the Script, this is episode 296. Oh, man, I can't wait to talk about this, man. I'm like a fucking little kid in a candy store, man. I love being right. I really do. Oh, it's so good. It's such a good feeling. 296, part number 1 for your Saturday, October 19th, 2019. Not only are we going to go over the entire Eric Bischoff situation, I got news from Meltzer, I got news from Alvarez, and I got an exclusive from Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated. We're going to go over every little piece of that story about Bischoff being fired right here on the podcast. Also, the ratings, which at this point I couldn't give a single shit about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's in the news. I got ratings news on SmackDown, on Raw, on AEW, and NXT, and I don't really give a shit about any of that stuff either, but I'm just going to go over it quickly for you guys on the podcast because people do enjoy that type of thing. So we'll go over the ratings wars. Some are up. Actually, none are up. All are down. And my interest in all of these wrestling products is going down as well. So we'll go over that. And the WWE Draft, which was a complete failure, like I mentioned. We got late-breaking moves that were made. Now, if you watched the draft and you were disappointed, I'm sorry to say, and I'm sorry to relay the message to you, these extra moves that were made are just as bad as the moves that were made on TV. So nothing that really happened on TV is going to bring any real change. And the moves that happened after the fact with the free agents and the people that were not drafted to a brand or the people that were traded, nothing signals change. It's all the same shit. So we're going to go over that as well right here on the podcast. Thank you guys so very much for joining me. This is going to be one hell of a show, so strap yourself in. It's going to be a bumpy, hilarious ride right here on Off the Script. I got to thank everybody, man. Quickly, before we get into what we got to do today, I want to thank everybody for my friend Pete. Now, a lot of you guys have reached out to me on Instagram, and a lot of you guys have reached out to me on Twitter and my Facebook page, asking me how my best friend Pete is doing. Now, if you guys have not heard, I mentioned it last week, and I asked everybody for their thoughts, their love, and their prayers. And it's been a very rough week as far as I am concerned, just thinking about all this stuff, because it's something that I did not foresee coming. But if you guys did not listen to the podcast last week, my best friend Pete, I've known him since freshman year of high school. We sat right next to each other in homeroom every single year. Freshman year all the way to senior year in high school. We graduated together in the year 2000, Mount St. Michael Academy in the Bronx. And his wife reached out to me one afternoon, and I was sitting right here. I was playing Destiny, and she reached out to me, and she told me that he was in ICU and that he had an infection. The infection got bad. It was really bad to a point where it infiltrated his lungs, and it was so serious that they thought he was going to die. And I didn't know what to think about it when I heard it, but I reached out to his wife a couple of days ago, and I asked for a follow-up, and I wanted to know how he was doing. Anything has changed yet? Do you guys have any word on if he could have visitors? Because I can't wait to go see him. None of that yet, but she did tell me that they are not out of the woods yet. He is slowly making progress, and he was up and walking about the last time that I heard. So that is the only news that I have on him, and I want to ask you guys to continue sending your thoughts, your love, and your prayers to my best friend Pete in hopes that he gets better real quick and he's back home with the wife, with the kids, and back home watching what we all enjoy every single week, because he's been a wrestling fan just as long as I have. He's missing all these great AEW shows. Can't wait for him to get back home so we can go back and forth like we usually do during the weekly wrestling program. So, Pete, I love you, buddy, and I can't wait to come see you. Hopefully, you are getting better and stronger each and every day. Also, shout out to my boy Rusty. If you guys know Rusty, formerly of the 414, Rusty is the only one ever to ever sit, not in this chair, but sit on this podcast and do an episode of Off the Script when I was in dire need of a replacement just for that one Sunday afternoon many moons ago, because I had what was, I think, 102 fever. I had the flu. I was absolutely terrible. Couldn't talk, couldn't speak at all. And Rusty took over for half an hour, 40 minutes, and delivered a great Off the Script, if you guys remember that. He's going through a difficult time as well, and I will not disclose what he's going through right now because for privacy reasons, but I just want to give him a shout out, and I want to tell him that I love him as well, and I hope everything goes well, and I hope that no matter what you're going through, man, I am always here for you. You always have a friend in me. And I hope that everything works out for you. And hopefully you get better. So I love you, buddy. And hopefully you'll find some laughs within this 1 hour podcast today on Off the Script. And if you guys don't know, quick shout out. Rusty has a new podcast that he does every single week. It's called The Midwest Marks. And he's doing it with my boy Jesse. If you guys remember Jesse, he was on the AEW All Out review in Chicago with me. You guys love that review. So they hooked up. They met through me because we all hung out together in Chicago. And believe it or not, they started a new podcast together. So shout out to both of them. Shout out to Rusty. Shout out to my best friend Pete. And I love all you guys. So just make sure you guys leave something down in the comments, man. Thoughts, loves, and prayers for everybody, please. It goes a long way. And I definitely believe that every little bit will help. Because this month has been absolutely terrible. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I can't wait for October to be over. Now that that's out of the way, man, let's get down to business quickly. Follow me on social media, at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys want to support the podcast via Patreon, you guys can certainly do that as well. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. If you guys missed any of my content, and I know it's a lot, and I know you might have missed it, YouTube might not have pushed it to the sub boxes. You might have overlooked it. You might be overwhelmed with the amount of content mixed with the amount of wrestling shows that are on. But if you guys missed anything, I always leave you links to everything previously done on the channel down in the description below. Make sure you guys go and check all that stuff out if you did miss anything. Or if you guys want to watch it again, it's right there for you. Easy access. So thank you guys so very much for all of that. And the podcast today is brought to you by The Ridge. Ridge.com/script. You guys are going to use code SCRIPT at checkout for 10% off. The Ridge is so confident that you'll enjoy their product. They've made it as simple as possible. Free shipping so that you guys can get it fast. Free returns in case you do not like it. And if you do like it, there's a lifetime guarantee. There's 30,000 5-star reviews, so they've got a lot to be confident about, and you guys can shop with confidence as well, being that The Ridge is so quality and so popular. 30,000 5-star reviews, that's a big selling point if you ask me. The Ridge is also super durable, made from military-grade materials like titanium and carbon fiber. It's proven to be bulletproof, waterproof, and yes, unbelievably so, chainsaw-proof. Unbelievable, man. Absolutely unbelievable. Guys, it's simple. All you got to do is go to ridge.com/script, use code SCRIPT at checkout. You're going to get 10% off. Listen, Christmas is coming up. Your dad's going to need something. Your grandpa's going to need something. Your brother's going to need something. You are going to need something. You can't forget about yourself during Christmas. Treat yourself and everybody that you love with something so great that they're going to look at you and give you a nice big hug on Christmas morning, man. Ridge.com/script. Use code SCRIPT at checkout. Once again, guys, that's ridge.com/script. All right, man, we are off to the races here on Off the Script. Might as well start at the top here with the ratings, because everybody lives and dies on the hill. That is the weekly ratings in the pro wrestling world. Not that it matters to me. I'm only reporting it because it's in the news. Now, I don't need ratings. I really don't. You watch the show, it's good, it's bad. I don't give a shit who's watching it, as long as I was entertained. Now, you can also watch a show and realize how shitty it is, and then you can probably come up with a very valid reason as to why the ratings are going to be in the toilet the following day when Meltzer and Alvarez report them. Oh, look, the ratings were low. All you have to do is think back to the night before. The show sucked. I don't need anybody to tell me what the ratings are. And if the ratings are up with a shitty show, that's a lot of stupid idiots out there who don't know what the fuck is going on. So the ratings. Might as well start with SmackDown Live, because they were down. They were down 1 million viewers. Man, it makes me smile. It makes me smile, man, because people were like, woohoo, the ratings were up. SmackDown ratings were up. Woohoo. Where were they up? Who were they up for? Dwayne Johnson? No shit. No shit. The Rock. What happened when The Rock wasn't there? You got $1 million down the next week. Yes, because you pushed all the current talent on the show to get them on the debut episode of SmackDown Live so people know who they're going to be watching on a week-to-week basis. They didn't do anything near that. Yeah, let's push The Rock out there. Let's put him out there with Becky Lynch in a cringe-like segment. Let's make fun of Baron Corbin. Let's have a ladder match that went 8 minutes on national television. Let's do this and have everything mean absolutely nothing. Then they want to know why they're down $1 million in the ratings. It's not that difficult to see, folks. They went from a 3.9 to a 2.9. Not good. It's not good. Don't give a shit who you are. If I'm a Fox executive, if I'm a Fox suit and tie, I'm calling up Vince. Bro, what happened? $1 million? You mean to tell me you couldn't generate over a 3 rating on Fox with your product? What do you think is going to be after the draft? Because the draft started on SmackDown. You think people watch that show that got a 2.9 with $1 million down? You think people are going to watch the next week after what they delivered on Friday with the draft? The start of the draft? The draft was an embarrassment. An absolute embarrassment. I would not be shocked if people watched those horrific War Room segments on SmackDown Live and said, you know what? Fuck this shit. What am I watching this for? It's like I'm watching Comedy Hour on WWE television. If they're not taking it seriously, why am I going to sit here and take it seriously when I could be doing something else better on Friday night? I could be taking this girl out to dinner. I could be at the bowling alley. I could go fucking shoot some pool. I could go play some mini golf. I could go sit at a nice craft beer bar and have a nice pumpkin ale. I could fuck my girlfriend for 4 hours. Right? I could smoke some marijuana and just chill, listen to the new Alter Bridge album. You could do a lot of things. You want to stream on Twitch. You want to go fucking sit in the cold corner and fucking pet your cat on a nice cold October evening. Right? And laugh at WWE's failures. I wouldn't mind that. I'd fucking sit there and join you. Oh, man. I love it. I absolutely love it, man. Oh, the ratings were up. Yeah, watch the ratings go down. And then I'll be sitting here with my legs crossed, sipping my cold beverage. But the SmackDown ratings were actually worse than they were reporting. So SmackDown was a 2.9. They lost 1 million viewers. The Rock itself garnered over 4 million viewers alone. Now, that's The Rock, but they did it without over 12 million viewers that couldn't see the show, who are on Dish and Sling. Now that Dish and Sling are carrying Fox once again, this week's edition of Friday Night SmackDown pulled in over 1 million fewer viewers. If you factor in the additional viewers that could have tuned in, the drop should have not been that low. This is a very interesting situation if you look at it in that aspect, that WWE's early ratings on Fox are not as good as everybody's making them out to be. And Fox should not be comfortable with the ratings that WWE has garnered in the 2 weeks. Friday Night SmackDown was even giving the draft, the start of the draft this week, and they were down. Because nobody gives a shit. And the fans are not stupid. If WWE is not showing you that they give a shit about their own talent, why on earth would anybody give a shit about WWE's talent? It all starts at the top. If you don't care about your talent, neither are the fans. And that's exactly what happens every single week. You suppress talent, you hide talent, you keep talent in catering, then you want to push talent because their contracts are expiring, or if their contracts are expiring, you want to convince them to sign for 15 times more than what they're actually worth, just so that they could get a sense of, oh, look, I'm making all this money. WWE's going to push me now. They wouldn't have signed me if they are giving me all this money. Or they wouldn't have signed me and given me all this money if they didn't find any talent in me, or if they didn't have any plans with me. Yeah, but they'll push you. Just ask Gallows and Anderson. They'll push you for about 2 weeks. And then when they got you for 5 years and they got the fucking handcuffs on you, goodbye, back to catering you go. You'll be looking at the fucking menu board more than a wrestling ring. What's on the menu today? Oh, lobster bisque by Titus Catering. I take that over a fucking loss on Monday Night Raw in 6 consecutive weeks. Again, ex-Gallows and Anderson. Hot Asian wife, 6 yachts. That's all they give a shit about. But that's what they do. Now, if WWE doesn't make you care about the talent, why would we? Yes, I'm going to care about somebody that's been off TV for 4 months, and now you want to push him on TV because, we have to, because he's on an exclusive brand now, or his contract's coming up. Give me a break. Everybody should get equal opportunity. If they don't swim, then do something else with them. Move them down and move someone else in that position. But you constantly push the same people over and over and over again. It's not even fun. These shows are not even fun to watch. Even Buddy Murphy. People were cursing me out on social media. Oh, JD, why are you shitting on Monday Night Raw? A, because the show sucks. But why are you shitting on Monday Night Raw? Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander in the ring. You love those guys. They're right up your alley. Those are 2 of your boys. The match sucked. There was nothing about the match that even reeked of importance. And the crowd was dead. So, it goes back to what I stated. WWE doesn't give a shit or show that they care about the talent. And then when they put them in the ring, the fans aren't going to care. So why are the people at home going to care watching these shows? I'm happy SmackDown is failing. Good. I hope your $1 billion deal is worth it. Because you took the money and you suckered Fox into this deal. And I hope to God they push you to the brink of changing your show against your will. Though I don't have any faith in Fox either. Not after the bullshit that we seen on week 1 and week 2. WWE is probably doing what Fox wants, and Fox is probably worse than what WWE's wanting to do. Nothing's changed. The shows actually seem worse than what they were. SmackDown's down. Good. Monday Night Raw. This week's draft edition of Raw, which was god-awful, by the way. If you missed my Monday Night Raw review, such a heated rant. Oh, my goodness. I couldn't take it anymore, man. I really couldn't. Nothing made sense on that show whatsoever. The draft edition of Monday Night Raw seen a ratings drop to 2.28 million viewers. The show was only down about 2.4% from last week, but it was down! And you got a draft! If people were invested in your roster, it wouldn't be down at all! 2.4. Last week's ratings were at 2.334 million viewers. What seems to be the most concerning would be the hour-to-hour drops. Raw started off in hour 1 with 2.52 million viewers. Then things started to go south. At that point, hour 2 dropped to 2.32. And then hour 3, barely 2 million viewers. What does that mean? It means that WWE isn't keeping anybody's attention and that the fans watching at home, they were zoned out after hour 1. So, WWE has ruined the draft. It came off unimportant. WWE looked as if they didn't give a shit about the draft. It's almost as if WWE didn't even want to do the draft, but they were only doing it for either one of 2 reasons. One, it was a ratings grab, or at least an attempt at a ratings grab. Or B, Fox asked them to do it because Fox has been pushing for exclusive brands. And it came off like garbage. WWE has also killed the momentum of Bray Wyatt. And if you don't believe so, wait till you hear what WWE is doing with Bray Wyatt in this very podcast when I get to that portion of the show. Now, aside from Bray Wyatt and the lack of focus on the draft, WWE actually promoted a new Firefly Funhouse and Seth Rollins trying to hunt down the Fiend in what he was calling Fiend hunting. I wish somebody would Rollins hunt and take the fucking title off of him, because this guy is absolutely an abomination to the company and to a championship title in general. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Rollins, I think he's a great in-ring performer. He is very, I would say, ordinary. He is very WWE-ized. You know, there's nothing new from Rollins. He doesn't go out there and better himself in the ring. It's always the same shit. Oh, look, a sling blade. Oh, look, a Falcon's arrow. Oh, look, this and that. 14 stomps. You know? There's nothing new. You're not reinventing yourself. You're just going through the motions. Then he's going to go complain on social media, oh, I got more money in my bank account than so-and-so. How many WrestleMania main events have you had? Or how many WrestleMania paychecks have you had? Because that's the only thing that matters to these fucking people. Now, he called it fiend hunting. And then he proceeded to burn down the Firefly Funhouse. We got a whole slew of news on Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt tomorrow, but that's what WWE was booking the show as. That was their hook to get people to stay watching. Then you want to know why they didn't watch? Rollins? Nobody likes Rollins. Nobody gives a shit about Rollins. And what you're doing to The Fiend, you've left a bad taste in everybody's mouth after Hell in a Cell that you still don't realize how bad your actions were on Sunday night. On that night. And then you try to justify the outcome by having the referee go on some shitty social media show, and then Seth Rollins himself tried to justify the outcome. This is what you do? The fans revolt against your product. But instead of listening to the fans, you're going to line up all your little soldiers, and you're going to have them go out there and defend the fucking bullshit that you gave us. How dare you? How dare you? What a joke. Then WWE wants to know why their ratings are down. Nobody gives a shit about Rollins. Rollins is the biggest heel in all of WWE right now. And not by choice. You caused it. Because of your stupidity. Not only did you ruin Rollins, but you ruined the entire fucking Fiend character. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I don't want to get heated. I really don't. But I every time I talk about it, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, moving on. The Fiend. Momentum. Killed. Character could be dead too. I don't realize anything about The Fiend is on TV. Really, I've zoned out. Every time a Funhouse is on, I zone out. I don't even give a shit anymore. Every time Fiend comes out and the lights go out and you hear that creepy, I don't give a shit. It's always the same thing. Oh, look, he's showing up in the darkness. Oh, a mandible claw. Nothing's changed. Now, aside from that, the Firefly Funhouse, Fiend hunting. 500,000 fans did not stick around. 500,000 fans did not stick around from hour 1 all the way to hour 3. In recent weeks, an appearance from The Fiend seemed to keep fans interested. And since Hell in a Cell, everything has been dropping off. The other meaning could point to the fact that the draft presentation was not resonating with the fans. Most of the top draft picks were already picked within the first hour, most of which were drafted back to their original brands that they were already on! How is that a draft? How is that a draft? Oh yes, Roman Reigns, we're drafting him to SmackDown Live. What? Wasn't he on SmackDown Live already? Oh look, we're drafting Rusev and Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre and Ricochet and Cedric Alexander to Monday Night Raw. What? That's most of your fucking roster. What draft? That's not what I call a draft. That's them sitting around on the same brand that they were already on. They were sitting in catering. Oh, I wonder what brand I'm going to be on. Then they hear that they get drafted. Oh, what a draft, guys. We're not going anywhere. Such excitement for WWE's draft, right? So, most of the top draft picks were picked in the first hour. People didn't stick around because who the fuck gives a shit about seeing where Akira Tozawa and Humberto Carrillo and Jinder fucking Mahal end up. Recently, Dave Meltzer said that he felt the ratings were showing that WWE has lost touch with this. I don't need lost touch with its audience. I don't need the ratings to fucking tell me that they've lost touch with their audience. Just watch the fucking show. Just watch the show. The definition of losing touch is right there on your screen. You don't need ratings and numbers and fucking statistics. Watch the program. It's right in front of your eyes. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to come to that conclusion, but the numbers seem to be backing all of this up and this claim by Dave Meltzer. Meltzer took another look at the analytics, and this is what he says about them, and I quote, "Men 18 to 49 fell 24%, which is almost unheard of. Teenage girls fell 35% and teenage boys fell 34%. The teenage boys drop is also pretty much unheard of. Over 50 years old dropped 11%, which is a normal figure. So the turnoff of the show was with the 49 and under crowd because you're an adult. You're an older individual and you're watching some fucking Chinese guy in the same outfit that he was wearing on Friday, in the same outfit on Monday, jumping up and down because they drafted fucking Natalya to Monday Night Raw. Really? Yet I'm supposed to take this seriously. Yet I'm supposed to keep tuning in to see where the rest of the fucking jobber crew ends up. People who are not going to make any difference to the quality of Monday Night Raw. Unreal. Yet I'm the one who complains, right? Yes, please justify these mistakes and justify the presentation of this draft. Oh, it was different. They tried something different. Yeah, different sucks, okay? You know what different is to me? Blowing this fucking show up and rebuilding it from ground zero. That's what different is to me. It's also possible that viewers over 50, you know, if you're one of those senior citizens, hey, Helen, can you get me my prune juice? I gotta go watch Alex Trebek before he croaks, and I gotta be in bed by 7 p.m. because I gotta be up at 3 a.m. and have my oatmeal. Probably fell asleep. They probably, staying up to Monday Night Raw, staying up to 11 to watch Monday Night Raw, my goodness, man. I don't even know how I do it. You're gonna have a 50-year-old plus stay up and watch Monday Night Raw. I don't know if they'd be dead or sleeping, one or the other. You go check their pulse, they might fucking have banished into the afterlife somewhere. Ridiculous. They were down. The show sucked. When the show was good, the ratings will be back up. Simple concept, folks. As for the AEW ratings and NXT ratings, they were both down. NXT down significantly. AEW down slightly. This week, both AEW and NXT actually dropped slightly in the ratings. AEW pulled in a respectable 1.014 million viewers. NXT, on the other hand, almost lost 100,000 viewers again. And that featured the return of Tommaso Ciampa. They drew 790,000 last week. This week, they drew 712,000 people. Now, last week, AEW drew a 1.018 rating. And this week, it was very, 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 very slightly down. NXT continues to drop. And from what I heard and the discussions that I seen online on social media from reputable people in the community, Vince McMahon was not happy with the ratings for NXT. No shit. So when is he going to start sprinkling his homemade seasoning on top of NXT? Then he's going to put it in the oven and want to get a fucking shit, whatever, come out of the oven. And then NXT's going to be ruined. But you already know they're planning on moving NXT out of Full Sail University because nobody could watch these shows and take NXT seriously. And I honestly think that Triple H has given up. Triple H has given up with NXT, and not given up with NXT, but he's given up at least battling AEW. They were never going to beat AEW. They will never beat AEW. Never. AEW, we're starting to see things level out. This is where their rating is going to be, anywhere between 950 and 1 million. You know, there is no boom period. Wrestling is not seeing a boom period. If they were, then AEW's ratings would be a 2+. And NXT would be over 1 million. Easy. We're not. This is just another night of wrestling that is unnecessary. And it's making everyone feel fatigued. And we're overexposed to the wrestling product. And there's just too much to really digest at one single time. And there's just so much to digest in one single week that by the end of the week, you don't want to hear anything. You don't even want to hear anything start with the word W or the letter W or wrestle, anything wrestling related. You don't want to hear none of that. God forbid someone fucking pronounces a word with the letter W. You're going to think, oh my God, wrestling. Oh my God, I can't take it no more. It's awful. It is awful. I thought I was going to be able to handle it. Let me watch AEW, do my thing, watch NXT immediately after I record the podcast. I couldn't do it. I went right to sleep after AEW was over, after the podcast was up. I woke up early on Thursday. I watched NXT in the morning, had a nice big cup of coffee, and I sat down to record, and the podcast got uploaded at the same fucking time. Same fucking time. But next week's episode of NXT will feature a North American Championship match between Roderick Strong, Keith Lee, and Dominik Dijakovic, and Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. AEW is putting on Pac versus Moxley, and the semifinals of the AEW Tag Team Championship Tournament that will feature Private Party versus the Lucha Brothers and SCU versus the Dark Order, which I'm expecting both of those matches to be barn burners as far as the tournament goes, because now we're getting down to who is going to be competing over the first ever AEW Tag Team Championships. I don't expect NXT to do anything differently than they've been doing. They're following the NXT mold. It's just an additional hour on top of that. I mentioned on the review, if you guys missed it, you guys can go check it down below. The 2 hours, I feel like, is killing the product. It is too much. I miss the 1 hours. It's just not feeling special to me anymore. It's not that it's not a good show. It's just I appreciated it more in the 1 hour than I do the 2 hours. I don't know. You guys might feel differently. You might like the extra hour of NXT. Whatever. NXT is a great show. It will always be a great show. But I'm not feeling it at 2 hours. I'm not. There's a lot of things that are happening on that show that are just there for the sake of filling 2 hours. Whereas with the 1 hour show, everything that they did, and I mean everything that they did in that 1 hour, meant something. Meant something. When I could sit here and talk for a 1 hour show, or about a 1 hour show, and I could go 50 minutes and give you news and give you the breakdown of the show, there's a lot happening in that show. When I have a 2 hour show that barely eclipses an hour for the review, then that should be an easy indication that there really isn't much going on. I try to make sense of what's going on. I try to give you as detailed a breakdown of the match that I can, but there's nothing going on. Absolutely nothing going on. I missed the 1 hour, and I think the 2 hours is really taking away from making NXT special. And the one thing I'm worried about is them pulling this shit out of Full Sail and going to a 10,000 seat venue. Will they even be able to do that? I've been asking that question for weeks now. Will they be able to do that? And will that move take away from what you do with the takeovers that you do? Because they are the best thing that WWE produces. How long before they ruin the fucking takeover shows? It's a really bad situation, man, but WWE, they wanted to counter AEW, right? Yes, AEW went to Wednesday night. NXT was always on Wednesday night, but nobody wanted NXT to go live on the USA Network in 2 hours. We were always fine with NXT at 1 hour. Always. WWE tried to counter, and this move failed. It failed, and this is a Vince McMahon move. This is a move made by Vince McMahon's ego because he wants so badly to kill AEW. And if it means killing NXT in the process to kill AEW, then so be it. But the thing is, it's not working out how Vince wants it. Vince is killing AEW. Vince is embarrassing AEW. Vince is going to bring the hammer down on somebody as far as the ratings go for NXT. And it's going to be a situation where Vince and his ego, he's wanted to kill AEW so badly that risking NXT is not going to really mean all that much to him. But at the end of the day, obviously, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And you can tell by Triple H's actions, it is not worth it whatsoever because the shows really haven't put on a sense of urgency. Meanwhile, AEW is putting on great show after great show after great show. Not perfect by any means, but NXT is not really doing much to combat AEW. It is what it is, man. I'm not really concerned about all this shit, but a lot of people are. And I just feel NXT right now in its current state is not as special as it was 3 months ago. And the simple fact that we are 4 weeks away from War Games and still don't have any iota of a clue as to what's happening in that pay-per-view, in that match, on that show. Meanwhile, if this was War Games from last year, we were already sitting with most of the card fleshed out. And the War Games match was already set up. This year, nothing. That goes to show you how different NXT is from 2018 and 2019. Not a good situation right now, guys. Not a good situation. I guess it's time. I guess it's time because it's staring me right in the face. Eric Bischoff, he was fired from WWE. A lot of people asked me about this situation, and a lot of people asked me for my opinion on this, and I gave you the shoulder shrug. What would you like me to tell you? I don't have anything to tell you guys. What do you expect from me as far as my opinion goes on Eric Bischoff? We haven't seen him on TV. He didn't have any role backstage in WWE. We didn't hear about any creative ideas that he had brought to the table. We didn't hear about any of his fan favorites or any of his favorites on the roster. We didn't hear about anything. All we heard was that he needed to familiarize himself with the current WWE roster and the current WWE product, which he actually went out on his own show and admitted, I don't know much about the current product. I need to brush up on everything and everybody before I could fully invest myself in this situation. He said it himself. This is not news to anybody. Which we will circle back to that instance and that situation in just a little bit. People are making this out to be a big deal. People are making this out to be a big deal because they are looking into something that really isn't all that news-breaking or newsworthy. It's not of any importance whatsoever. People are looking at this headline and looking at Bischoff fired from WWE, looking to make some controversial content. And they're looking for clicks and they're looking for views on YouTube or they're looking for downloads on your podcast. And these people are going to be talking about God knows what. And you're all misinformed cretins. I sat here over the summer and I told you guys two things specifically. One of the main things that I told you was when Vince McMahon issued the statement he did to his stockholders, I'm going to remove myself from the weeds. And by the way, he didn't mention Heyman and Bischoff by name. I'm going to remove myself from the weeds. And we got new executive directors taking over creative on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live to oversee operations. Or whatever the case may be. Whatever he stated. It was roughly that statement that he made. Not exact, but that's absolutely in the ballpark of what he said. I said two things. The first thing I said was, why do you think he is hiring both Heyman and Bischoff for these positions? He hired both Heyman and Bischoff because everybody, and people still realize that Vince is in charge of everything. Vince oversees everything, but there wasn't really anybody by name or anybody by name that had a specific title. Think back to Road Dogg. Road Dogg, we all knew, was head of creative or co-head of creative with Ryan Ward, who got demoted from NXT to oversee SmackDown. When Ryan Ward wrote SmackDown in 2016, I don't know if Road Dogg was a part of that. That show was great. I had absolutely no problems with SmackDown Live. One of the best periods of SmackDown Live, I think, in the history of SmackDown Live. The show changed. Why did it change? Either because Vince got in on what Road Dogg and Ryan Ward were doing, and they were pretty much non-existent in the creative meetings. Everything was being written by Vince. Vince overseeing everything. So we all knew that the shows were losing its touch. The quality of the shows drastically went down. And being that we all knew Road Dogg was part of the creative team, we took our frustrations out on him. I got blocked by Road Dogg. Now I'm not blocked. Now he's in NXT living the high life because he's working for Triple H. And he's working for a much superior product. But we all voiced our frustrations and got blocked and got blasted by Road Dogg on social media. And Road Dogg tried his best to toe the company line. We don't know what that man was thinking, but that man was under scrutiny every single day that he was with SmackDown Live as head of creative. We went right to him as if he has any fucking power to change the shows. He had nothing. His soul was fucking sucked dry from Vince McMahon. So when someone has a title and is a part of the creative team like that, in that manner, he's got a title of head of creative, who are we going to blame? Now that Vince put him in charge and he's on social media and on social media every day, we're going to go to him because we know he answers everybody. We know that he's active on social media where Vince McMahon is not. We could tweet Vince McMahon. I've done it, and I've gotten fucking 7,000 likes on the tweets and the frustrations that I've aimed towards Vince McMahon. You think Vince McMahon runs his Twitter? He's got some fucking suit and tie, some faceless suit and tie running his social media account. Nobody gives a shit over there. He doesn't even see it. And if he does, he laughs. Like he laughed at the Hell in a Cell finish with Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins. We're just more in the zone on focusing in on who the title and the individual is running that show. It's not Vince McMahon. So when Road Dogg was there, we all aimed our anger at him. Vince did this with Bischoff and Paul Heyman. Now that nobody was in the position of those head writers, because we all figured that Vince was writing the show anyway, we heard rumors and news articles coming out week after week after week after week, when WWE should have been gearing up to go to Fox and make the show as special as it could be. Vince ripping up scripts 1 hour before the show, rewriting the script with the entire creative team via Skype when he wasn't there. The show's being written and rewritten going into the 9 o'clock hour. Every single week, we've heard stories like this come out. And Vince made this comment because he needed to fan the flames. Everybody was coming down on WWE Creative. The ratings were down. The quarterly earnings were down. What's going on? Is it anything to do with the quality of television? In fact, it does have everything to do with the quality of television. If people aren't watching, they aren't buying. If people aren't watching, they're not attending the shows. If people aren't watching, they're not buying the merchandise. If people aren't watching, they're not subscribing to the WWE Network. People aren't watching. Everybody blasted Vince McMahon for his creative ideas, and everybody heard the rumors. So Vince went out there and got two of the most reputable, respected names in this business, and he put a fake title over their heads so that the fans now can take all that anger that was aimed at Vince McMahon and direct it towards Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff. That's what I said. That's what I said. And I also said that if you expect any change as far as Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live goes, we didn't hear anything about Eric Bischoff, so I can't really, put him in this situation because he didn't really do anything. But Paul Heyman is in this situation. He's knee-deep in the shit already, and Vince has brainwashed Paul Heyman so badly already in this executive director role that when Vince McMahon is not there and Paul is overseeing the show, Paul is so ingrained in what Vince McMahon wants that Paul is going to write the show in Vince McMahon's vision, even though he is the executive director of Monday Night Raw, just to simply appease Vince McMahon. So if Paul Heyman wants to gain the trust of Vince, he's got to do the show exactly how Vince McMahon would do it. This is not news, folks. This is not news. At the end of the day, both of these men, Bischoff was the first casualty. If you don't think the same thing's going to happen to Paul Heyman, you are a fool. Both of these men were used. Both of these men were meat shields. That's all they were. They were put in the kitchen. The kitchen was already burning down. They were put in the kitchen to fan the fucking flames of this garbage that Vince McMahon has created. Vince burned the kitchen down. He put these two guys in there to fix everything, and it cannot be fixed. The kitchen still remains on fire, and the kitchen is burning down even more so than it was when Vince McMahon didn't have executive directors of Monday Night Raw. Eric Bischoff was fired for Vince McMahon's continuous creative failures. If you don't understand that, you really don't understand anything. Eric Bischoff was a fall man. Eric Bischoff was a scapegoat. Eric Bischoff was fired because SmackDown dropped from week to week, from the debut on Fox to the draft. They dropped 1 million viewers. Who were they going to fire? Were they going to fire Vince McMahon? No, they weren't. Were they going to fire Bruce Pritchard? No. Were they going to fire Ed Koskey? Were they going to fire anybody else that's sucking Vince McMahon's balls? No, they're not. They needed a fall man. Fox probably said something that we don't know of. Fox probably said something behind closed doors. And in an effort to show Fox that he is trying to change and wants to be better, even though we know he doesn't, he needed a casualty. And Eric Bischoff was this casualty. Eric Bischoff was fired because Vince McMahon's creative failures continue week after week after week after week, and everybody in this company And that goes to Bruce Pritchard. That goes to Michael P.S. Hayes. That goes to every single suit and tie that works as an agent or a producer or a creative writer. None of you have fucking balls. You all sit there, line up like good little soldiers, and you bend over and you willingly take it up the fucking ass every single week. You are a fucking subhuman being at that point. Because not only are you willingly doing something that you fucking hate, but you don't voice when it's wrong. You don't voice when it's wrong. How bad is that? How bad is that job that you have to lower yourself to do that? I hope they're paying you fucking immensely. I really do. Eric Bischoff was a scapegoat for the 1 million loss, the 1 million viewership loss of SmackDown Live from week 1 to week 2. Is it right? No, of course not. It's not right. Vince should look himself in the mirror and fucking give himself termination papers. WWE decided to release Eric Bischoff on Monday night. Monday night. Did they tell Eric Bischoff Monday night? Of course they did. They didn't tell Eric Bischoff Monday night. Multiple sources have told this story to Sports Illustrated. Bischoff has been serving as the Executive Director of Smackdown Live since July. He was informed by Human Resources. He wasn't even informed by Vince McMahon. He wasn't even informed by Vince McMahon that he was fired. He was informed by Human Resources. Some fucking 60-year-old slob in Human Resources. Eric, we're sorry to tell you that we're letting you go today. That's who he was fired by. Tuesday morning following a creative meeting at WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, that his services were no longer needed. The fuck did he do? What did he do? He did nothing. He did nothing. For all we know, he came to work, tried to learn as much as he can, and being that he's Eric Bischoff, because fuck Eric Bischoff, they fired him. Now, Bischoff is the creative authority on SmackDown Live at this point. Paul Heyman was overseeing Raw. Bischoff was given the title, but he was never given the power to do so. He was originally intended to oversee creative, but multiple sources confirmed that his direction was largely to observe. So his position and directive was largely to observe. Observe what? Observe what? If you want Bischoff to fucking get complacent and lazy, all you have to do is have him observe. Because once he observes, he's going to set it in his own mind, what the fuck did I just do? Do I really want to be a part of this? He probably observed and said, fuck this shit, and zoned out. That's exactly what he did. Because that's what I would do. There's nothing that can be done to help this show. It's so fucking knee-deep in bullshit. So, he was there to observe. Bischoff's 4-month run working for Vince McMahon will be marked by his failure to assimilate into the corporate structure of the company, though his dismissal is not a complete loss for WWE. How can it be a loss at all if they did not do or did not allow him to do anything? They didn't do anything with him at all. The SmackDown debut on Fox 2 weeks ago was if you want to even say it, I think it was a fucking failure. The numbers lie. The numbers lie, folks. 4 million, 3.9 million, whatever the number was. It's a fucking lie. Because that number was solely directed towards The Rock. The Rock isn't even an active performer. He's not there. They brought him in because he's a fucking Hall of Famer. They brought him in because the show was named after him. So he did them a favor. Then what happened after The Rock left? You got a 2.9. Yep, that's Bischoff's fault. That's Eric Bischoff's fault. Let's fire him because The Rock didn't show up on week 2 and generate another 4 rating for SmackDown Live. Yep, it's all Eric's fault. It's all Bischoff's fault. Now, the debut, if you want to say it was a major success based on the numbers, so be it. I think it was a failure. Viewership plummeted to a 2.899, round up to a 2.9 last Friday. Bischoff's firing is Vince McMahon's reaction to the ratings and a message to the stockholders that he's entirely committed to the future success of SmackDown Live. But he's not! If he's not... Listen. Oh my God, this frustrates the shit out of me, man. If Vince McMahon is committed to the future success of SmackDown on Fox, then he's committed to remove himself from the position that he currently sits in and lets other people, other eyes, other ears, other mouths, other ideas run this show. Because if Vince McMahon is there, then this statement is a complete fucking bullshit statement. He's committed to the future success of SmackDown Live. There will be no future of SmackDown Live if Vince McMahon is still there. Never mind a fucking success. Are you kidding me? This is the reason for their failures. Himself. Bischoff was living. This is another thing that people were talking about. Because if you follow Eric Bischoff on social media, he was driving cross-country from the west to the east with his dog. Moved his entire family into an apartment in Connecticut. People were asking, I hope that he rented. Did he rent? Was he living in a nice, beautiful house? Did he just abandon everything in Wyoming? Eric Bischoff is no dummy. Eric Bischoff is no dummy. Bischoff was living in an apartment in Stamford while working for WWE, but is expected to relocate back to his home in Wyoming. He still has his home in Wyoming because he knew that nothing is for certain in this business. Nothing. Now, with Bischoff's exit from the executive director role on SmackDown Live, effective immediately, Bruce Pritchard has replaced Bischoff as the executive director of SmackDown Live, but also effective immediately is Bischoff's re-entry into free agency. Now, another thing that I mentioned is Eric Bischoff was hired. Now, I don't know how much of this is legit, but some of it might be. It might be a little sliver of the reason why WWE picked him up in the first place. Not only did they want a meat shield for when shit goes incredibly wrong, that they have a fall guy and someone to blame, because we all know it's Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon's not going to blame himself, but a little sliver of the pizza pie could go to the reason that Eric Bischoff was hired by WWE was to keep him away from AEW. And now that he's a free agent, WWE, I guess, doesn't give a shit if Eric Bischoff shows up on television, which people are claiming that should have happened on Tuesday. I don't want Bischoff on television. I don't want a re-envisioning of WCW Nitro, because you all know that's coming. If Bischoff shows up on TNT and shows up as far as a character on AEW Dynamite, it's not going to be good luck. It's not going to be good luck. You move in a new direction, you have your own vision, stick to your vision. Eric Bischoff was never a part of your vision, so don't make him a part of your vision now. If you want him on the payroll as far as production and how to manage cameras and how to fucking go about making the quality of your show better behind the curtain, that's fine. But don't ever say that, oh, Eric Bischoff should have been on AEW Dynamite. No! We didn't want him on WWE television, and we don't want him on AEW television. He does have a purpose. If he wants it, I'm sure they will call. Right now, I don't think Eric Bischoff needs any wrestling promotion. Period. Bischoff was an at-will employee of WWE, which is different from a contracted performer. He is not required to adhere to the 90-day no-compete clause that most in WWE have because he was not an on-screen talent. He was not an on-screen talent. Bischoff is best known for his time as the president of WCW, overseeing an 83-week period where Nitro outdrew WWE Raw in the television ratings. Bischoff overseeing the creation of the New World Order, which forever altered the wrestling business, as well as the unforgettable Hulk Hogan heel turn, which is one of the best, if not the best heel turns in all of pro wrestling ever. Along with Conrad Thompson, he hosts 83 Weeks, which is on Westwood One Podcast Network, and he recently gave a TED Talk drawing parallels between politics and pro wrestling. Bischoff is also one of the producers of the upcoming Hulk Hogan biopic, which stars Chris Hemsworth as Hulk Hogan. Considering Bischoff was not writing the show, the framework of SmackDown is expected to remain similarly structured. That's not a good thing. Bruce Pritchard was already overseeing the show for the past 2 weeks on Fox, and Ed Koskey remains the lead writer. There you go. The shows have sucked. Bruce Pritchard and Ed Koskey have overseen the shows. So you want to go right back to where we were going. Bischoff never had a role at all for executive director. He was never a part of creative. If Vince is using Eric Bischoff in this situation and using his termination to really put his foot down and show the stockholders that he's committed to making SmackDown a success on Fox and build a future for SmackDown Live. How could everybody sit here and tell me or anybody that Bischoff wasn't doing a good job when the decline in the ratings were not anywhere close to Eric Bischoff or the fault of Eric Bischoff? The last 2 weeks, from week 1 to week 2, were all Bruce Pritchard and Ed Koskey. So you're firing Eric Bischoff for shows that Bruce Pritchard and Ed Koskey were directly a part of. And you mean to tell me that this guy was not a fall man? You mean to tell me that Eric Bischoff was not a scapegoat? He was not used as a meat shield for Vince's creative failures? Think. That one line in this entire 2-hour podcast is all you need to know. Now, the Bischoff firing is a forceful reminder from McMahon that he wants a sharper on-screen product from his writers and producers. He wants a sharper on-screen product from his writers and producers. So let them write and let them produce. Simple. But a larger, more systematic issue is whether Vince McMahon has lost his touch overseeing such a vast, evolving product. Placing Pritchard in the role of executive director benefits the overall product, and it helps that his business relationship with McMahon extends decades. Pritchard's relationship with McMahon also allows him to provide a different point of view, especially with McMahon's just sense to rewrite shows precariously close to bell time and even add an opposing opinion. I don't this is, by the way, Justin Barrasso writing this. This is not me reporting anything, and this is not me writing anything to you guys in my own words. This is directly from Justin Barrasso. That was his exclusive of Sports Illustrated. Bruce Pritchard, I would not be shocked. According to sources, Bruce Pritchard actually helped Eric Bischoff get the job in the first place. But I also would not be shocked to learn or find out that Bruce Pritchard had a direct influence on Eric Bischoff being fired. Because if he's writing the show with Ed Koskey for the last 2 weeks, is Bruce Pritchard going to fucking take the blame for it? Of course not. He's not going to blame himself. He's going to suck Vince McMahon's dick so good that Vince is not going to really come down with the hammer on him. He's going to look to Eric Bischoff, who he placed in that position as their executive director. So Bruce Pritchard, I'm 100% positive, is directly responsible, along with everybody else, for Eric Bischoff's firing. Because if the shows were written by him, and nobody's blaming him, who do you think he went out there and blamed? He blamed Eric Bischoff, because Eric Bischoff had the title of executive director. But if Bruce Pritchard thinks that he's safe, he is a clown. Because Bruce Pritchard is going to end up the same way that Eric Bischoff ended up. Paul Heyman is going to end up in the same position, though they won't fire him because Brock needs Paul Heyman. Now, Paul Heyman might be the most safest of them all, being that Brock is the highest paid athlete in WWE, and he's a part of that act. But Bruce Pritchard, I am 100% positive. Don't know when, don't know what year. He will be in a similar position like Eric Bischoff, terminated. When things go wrong, now he's the blame. Now he's the fall man. Now he's the meat shield. So he is next. Paul Heyman, I am sure his day is coming as well. Might not be terminated, but a removal from executive director will be coming for both of them. They were simply there as a meat shield. They were scapegoats because Vince McMahon is a creative failure. And Vince McMahon did not want the heat on him anymore, so he needs fall men that will gladly and willingly suck his dick. So, that's that. I don't know what else to tell you. I really don't. Now, that was Justin Barrasso. We got Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez talking about this thing. This is what they say. Now, it was reported after Bischoff was appointed to SmackDown Executive Director on Fox that Fox was hoping to have Paul Heyman fulfill that role. They wanted Paul Heyman, Fox did, in that role for them. But for whatever reason, WWE went for Heyman on Raw and Bischoff on SmackDown. According to Brian Alvarez on the Wrestling Observer Live, several people expected Bischoff's departure as morale backstage was very low, and that the boom period that was predicted to coincide with SmackDown's move to Fox never happened. Alvarez also noted that he was aware that a lot of people didn't like working under Bischoff, and that a number of them were close to quitting. He went on to say that from what he understood, Bischoff barely did anything and was often spotted in catering. Alvarez said he always heard zero good things about Bischoff, at least from his sources, and that there were always a lot of negative things said about Bischoff. Dave Meltzer reported the following about Bischoff's hiring, and that people in WWE were shocked by his lack of knowledge of modern wrestling, and that he was taking a lot longer to settle in than they had hoped. Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer Live this past week also stated that those in a backstage capacity have been particularly vocal about the issues Bischoff had within WWE, one of which was that he also apparently didn't know anyone's name on the roster. Alvarez says this, and I quote, "I heard that he just didn't know anybody. He didn't know any of the talent. He didn't go out of his way to learn anything about them. He would leave early and nobody could get a hold of him. I heard zero good things about Eric Bischoff when he was doing whatever he was doing. I don't even know what he was doing." That is what Eric Bischoff, in the eyes of Alvarez's sources, was doing in a backstage capacity at SmackDown Live. Now, Bischoff broke his silence about this the very next day. He mentioned this and Bruce Pritchard on his social media and about Pritchard taking his job. It doesn't sound at all like he's holding anything against Bruce Pritchard, at least for right now. He says this, and I quote, "Bruce is a great producer, a good friend, and I am certain he is going to thrive in his position. He's going to be working with a great team of the most dedicated and hardworking people I have had the pleasure of working with and getting to know." Bullshit. That is such an empty statement. It is fucking laughable. Really. Honestly, that is so empty and soulless. It is downright comedic. Folks, from what we gather, after we read and dissected Justin Barrasso's exclusive, and after we hearing this from Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer, he got fired because he didn't know anybody's name. He didn't know anybody's name on SmackDown Live. I don't even know where to begin about that. WWE doesn't even know half of the fucking members of their roster. WWE doesn't even realize that half of the fucking active roster is even employed and waiting for an opportunity. And you're blaming Eric Bischoff for not knowing anybody's name? The guy was there for 5 months. You mean to tell me he didn't know any of the current roster's name? And while you're promoting a draft, how is he supposed to know who's going where when supposedly everything about the rosters was being kept secret? Maybe he didn't even really know what was going on and who was going to be where and who was going to be on what show. So it's like you're blaming him for not knowing anybody's name. I don't believe it. Oh, he was in catering. Oh, he left early. If you didn't give him anything to do, what the fuck is the reason for him to be there? Oh, he didn't have any good ideas. He didn't have any good ideas. You never even give him the opportunity to give a fucking idea. The people in this company, for saying, oh, Eric Bischoff didn't have any good ideas. He didn't bring any good ideas to the table. He's out of touch with modern wrestling. Are you fucking out of your mind? Do you understand the words that are coming out of your mouth? He didn't understand the modern wrestling product. WWE doesn't even know the modern wrestling product. Vince McMahon and everybody that works underneath his balls don't understand the modern wrestling product. How fucking dare you tell me and everybody else that Bischoff didn't have any good ideas? I would take an Eric Bischoff idea over the bullshit that we've seen because it cannot possibly get any worse than it is right now. I would take the shit that comes out of that man's ass cheeks more so than the fucking shit that we're getting on Monday Night Raw on SmackDown Live. Why? Because it's from a different set of eyes. That's what is needed. Yet you brought him in to fucking bring him down. Unreal. Every excuse about why he got fired was fucking comedy. Fucking comedy. Oh, he didn't have any good ideas. Oh, he was in catering. Oh, this. Oh, that. He didn't know anybody's name. You're firing him over this. You're firing him over these lame excuses instead of being honest with everybody, instead of being honest with your audience. I swear to God, man, you know, I am not one to really brag about anything I do here. I hate that type of mentality. I hate just emitting that type of attitude. But man, I stated this 5 months ago as soon as the news broke about Heyman and Bischoff being given these titles. I am going to sit here and suck my own dick because I was right, and meanwhile everybody else was getting excited and fucking blasting me. I remember there was one Monday Night Raw where everybody was like, oh my God, the change is in the air. This was a great show. 400 thumbs down on that Monday Night Raw video. 400 thumbs down on that Monday Night Raw review video. I remember. And everybody blasted me. Oh, JD's negative. He's blah, 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 blah. He does it for the views. What happened? Where are you now? Where are all of you now when the show is probably worse than it was then? Where are you now? Who's right and who's wrong? Shut your fucking mouth. I stated this 5 months ago. I'm a modern day Nostradamus when it comes to this shit. I told you why they were brought in. I told you that they wouldn't last. I told you why Vince McMahon was doing this. I told you all 5 months ago, and now here we are. And the future has come to be. So I'll pat myself on the back. Good old Barry Horowitz. Alive and well here on Off the Script. I stated this already. If you watched me back during the summer, and then you read this story and heard this story from other mouths, you would have known why Eric Bischoff was hired, and then recently this week, fired from WWE. Does it matter? No. Because Bruce Pritchard and Ed Koskey will do nothing to change this show. If they were writing the last 2 shows, you expect them to change the show's direction in week 3? Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. Where Monday Night Raw is an embarrassment to the fucking pro wrestling community, and SmackDown Live is now on a $1 billion contract with Fox, and they're still shitting the bed. Do you honestly expect this company to make any change whatsoever to these shows? It's a fucking joke. Bruce Pritchard is going to fail at that position, and then when he has the ratings sink lower than what supposedly Bischoff did, I want to see how long he lasts. And then I want to see Vince McMahon take control, and then I want to see Vince McMahon take the blame for his own creative failures. Vince McMahon is putting these people in the positions. It all goes right back to the people who's appointing these people in these positions on these shows. Who's to blame? Who's to blame? Vince McMahon appoints these people, and then he oversees these people, and then he controls these people. It all goes right back to him. Who's to blame? It's always Vince McMahon. It was never Eric Bischoff. Never Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff was wrongfully fired. I feel bad for him. I hope he shits on this company when the time is right, and I hope we get the true story. The man was a scapegoat. The man was a meat shield, and the man was used as a fucking body to take the fall for Vince McMahon's creative failures. Point blank, period. Don't believe any story about why he was fired. The real reason why he was fired is what was stated here on this podcast. Guys, I'm going to take a little break. Gotta get myself a cold beverage, and I will be right back. But after this, we're going to talk about Harry's, man. Harry's.com/script. Humans have been shaving for thousands of years, and the secret to a great shave, guys, it hasn't really changed all that much. The ancient Greeks didn't need flex balls or heated handles, and neither do you. That's why Harry's doesn't overcharge you for gimmicky features to their razors. They focus on delivering what actually matters: sharp, durable blades at a fair price. Now, I've been using Harry's for close to 3 years, and I could certainly use a shave right now, but I've been using Harry's for 3 years, and I love the closeness of the shave. And in all honesty, I've used other products. I've used other products before Harry's, obviously, and I've always cut myself using another blade. In 3 years, I've never once cut myself using a Harry's blade. That's what I love about Harry's. And if you have sensitive skin like me, believe me, guys, Harry's is going to take care of you just like they take care of me every single week. Harry's is a return to the essential. Quality, durable blades at a fair price, just $2 per blade. They've cut out the middleman manufacturing blades in their German blade factory that's been honing precision blades for nearly a century, which means you get incredibly high quality blades at factory direct prices. And guys, Harry's is super convenient. Blade refills are delivered directly to your door on your schedule with or without a subscription. And there's no risk for trying them out. If you don't love your shave, let them know and they will give you a full refund. What you guys are going to get when you use our unique link, harrys.com/script. You're going to get a razor handle with a firm grip, 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and a trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel with aloe to keep your skin hydrated, and a travel blade cover to keep your razor dry and easy on the go. Guys, it is simple. Start shaving better today. You cannot do that without Harry's. harrys.com/script. How many of you were disenfranchised with the way the WWE conducted its 2019 roster draft on SmackDown and Monday Night Raw? Are you surprised to see my hand raised after such shitty questioning? This show sucked, folks. Well, the show always sucked. My show doesn't suck. My show doesn't suck. I'm the best fucking thing on YouTube right now when it comes to pro wrestling. I got the best podcast on YouTube, believe me. Monday Night Raw sucked. SmackDown Live. Hey, listen. I can stroke my own cock sometimes when I want to. Vince does it all the time, right? Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, they both sucked. They both sucked. Friday Night SmackDown was more like a comedy show. Monday Night Raw is a comedy show. It is a parody of pro wrestling, like Dave Meltzer said. Monday Night Raw is legitimately like a fucking comedy show. It's funnier than The Big Bang Theory. It's funnier than Seinfeld. In a sad way. Seinfeld's my favorite comedy of all time. Seinfeld, Third Rock from the Sun. Shows like that. Shows that you don't find anymore nowadays. You can watch them in syndication, but you're never going to get a show with the quality of humor and entertainment value like a Third Rock from the Sun and a Seinfeld. These shows sucked. I was disenfranchised. I know you guys were disenfranchised. None of the shit on these shows made any sense. WWE is already going back on their fucking draft. The wild card rule is still in effect. Believe me, the wild card rule is still in effect. Now, with the draft, you guys know that I've mentioned this before. Dave Meltzer expanded on this on The Observer. I read this and I'm like, oh, I said that. Oh, I felt that same thing. I said that months ago. And here is Dave Meltzer just kind of reiterating the fact that I mentioned months ago. Because there were rumors of WWE doing a draft and having a draft after SummerSlam, and then they saved the draft for SmackDown on Fox. And the only reason why they did the draft was because they needed a ratings grab, because they knew that they don't have any idea how to book the current roster. They don't know how to book a wrestling show. Meltzer explained on the Wrestling Observer Live that WWE decided on a draft to simply help out the ratings. After all, when everything was said and done, the rosters don't look all that much different from what they were previously. He says, and I quote, the rosters they were originally going with, because there weren't a lot of changes, the rosters that they were originally going with on Raw and SmackDown, those were the rosters after WrestleMania. They weren't going to do another draft. Then I guess they felt, for whatever reason, that they needed this secondary draft thing for the ratings for the second week of SmackDown on Fox. End quote. So, it utters, or it feels like the same thing I mentioned on my Monday Night Raw review when I ranted on this draft. It's as if WWE didn't even want to do the draft with the way that they had it come off on TV on Friday and on Monday. And here Dave Meltzer is saying that they didn't really have any plans or even a desire to do a draft, that the rosters that you've seen were the rosters that they had in mind, and they didn't deviate at all from those rosters. A change here or there. Fox got Lesnar, which is, something that was going to happen anyway. And nothing changed. Absolutely nothing changed. Sasha goes to SmackDown Live, but she's got blue hair. It makes sense just based on the hair color the woman has. Nothing changed. Lacey Evans on SmackDown? Whoa, whoop-de-fucking-do. I can't wait to watch the women's division now, said no one ever. Nothing changed. Meltzer went on to say that this was more for the ratings for the second week of SmackDown because they are the more important brand. The bad news is that the ratings dipped 1 million viewers in week 2. So did the draft work? Of course not, because you didn't even do anything to build towards the next show on that debut episode. Oh, look, The Rock is here making funny jokes that were unfunny with Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch was telling me how big her balls are compared to Baron Corbin. Yet, everybody wants to know why the ratings are down on Tuesday. Look at what happened on the previous week's show. It's not really that difficult to figure out. Now, that was their original idea. Their original idea was to not do a draft because they had no desire to do a draft. That's why there was a lack of preparation and a lack of planning with this draft. And that's the reason why it came off so cringe and just so lazy in everything that they did. Now, they had the war rooms. They had the Raw and the SmackDown war rooms. The draft was being overseen by the executives of both networks. So Fox wants exclusive brands. Fox, realistically, in real life, wants exclusive rosters. They want a roster dedicated to that show. And then Monday Night Raw is going to get a roster dedicated to that show. With no crossover. With no crossover. Unless you're Bray Wyatt. WWE is already breaking the rules of their draft. And it's laughable. What did I say about WWE being a comedy show on Monday and Friday nights? Yeah, it's a comedy show. Bray Wyatt was moved to SmackDown Live. He was drafted in the first round on Friday on SmackDown. And it seems that the wild card rule is not dead yet. Why is the wild card rule not dead yet, folks? It's because everybody knows around Vince McMahon and everybody knows on social media that the wild card rule is a failure. The wild card rule is a failure. And Vince had this genius idea of having a wild card rule because the ratings were down. He comes up with this wild card rule concept. It fucking killed both shows. And it still exists today because Vince can't let go of an idea he came up with. Because if he does kill it, then his idea will be deemed a failure and Vince can't look like a failure. So the wild card rule is still existing in some way, shape, or form because Vince refuses to let it die because if it dies, he will be deemed, or an idea that he concocted will be deemed a failure. The wild card rule is still alive, barely, but it's still alive. The Fiend was drafted to SmackDown Live, or Friday Night SmackDown, whatever. But once again, he is going to be a part of Raw matches, Raw segments, and Raw dark matches with Seth Rollins. Now, these dark matches have generally ended in DQ with a lot of booing and a lot of hatred aimed at Rollins. But as is the WWE way, once they give you something that the fans want to see more of, and the fans love so much, the WWE gives it to you in fucking buckets. Instead of just spoon-feeding you, nice and slowly, very patiently, letting things grow, letting things mature, letting things just flow organically. WWE wants to fucking shower you with whatever is popular. Oh, look, The Fiend is trending #1 worldwide on social media. Oh, look, Bray Wyatt is on WWE's YouTube channel, and he's got the most views of the week. So they look at these analytics, and they look at these numbers, and they translate that to, oh, look, we need to do more of this and more of Bray Wyatt, and we need to put more of Bray Wyatt on the show. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. You will kill Bray Wyatt at that rate. So with everything WWE does, the more the fans are in love with something, WWE is quick. It is fucking, without any hesitation, WWE is quick to kill any type of momentum. It doesn't even have to be Bray Wyatt. It could be anybody. It could be fucking Joe Dirt in the corner, sweeping in the locker room. He could be the most popular entity in all of WWE, and WWE would get him on TV in 6 segments, and that would be the end of that. Goodbye, Joe Dirt. WWE has killed Bray Wyatt because they gave us so much Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins, and then they gave us that ending in Hell in a Cell, and now the writing is on the wall for both of these guys, and it's a damn shame. Bray Wyatt is scheduled for all Raw tapings through November. So he's scheduled for Raw. He's also scheduled for most of the SmackDown tapings. Not only that, but the arena in November, on November 4th, the November 4th episode of Monday Night Raw has Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins listed in a steel cage match on Monday Night Raw. At this point, you might as well just have these guys feud into SummerSlam next year. That's the way it's looking. Wyatt is not scheduled to be at the November 15th Friday Night SmackDown in Philadelphia or the November 29th episode in Birmingham, Alabama, but he's going to be at Raw those same weeks. Rollins and The Fiend will have an actual match after that god-awful, what people are saying is the worst Hell in a Cell ending of all time, yet Seth Rollins somehow has the balls to justify this garbage on social media. They will have an actual match in a no DQ match that I'm sure will end in a DQ or a last man standing match, whatever the fuck the case may be. It'll end in some fuck finish. It'll end in a fucking DQ. It'll end with both men not making the 10 count. Whatever the fucking case is, the match is going to end in a no contest at Crown Fools in Saudi Arabia. Falls Count Anywhere match. There it is. I fully expect this shit to end in a fuck finish. Now, there is one gleaming possibility here with Bray Wyatt, even though it's probably too little too late. Because why the fuck would you have Bray Wyatt win the WWE Universal title in front of that audience? Even if you wanted to. Who the fuck is going to be in that audience that gives a shit about Bray Wyatt? Nobody. Nobody. Most of that audience are going to be young children. Nobody gives a shit about Bray Wyatt and fucking Jeddah. Give me a break. Maybe Vince thinks, well, look, The Fiend, he's dressed up like a Halloween character. Ha 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 ha. And it's Halloween. Let's give him the title on Halloween. That's probably Vince McMahon's fucking illogical way of thinking about this entire thing. Now, I really don't understand this. I really don't even understand why he's fighting for the Universal Champion. Why is he fighting for the Universal Championship when you drafted him to SmackDown Live? This is what we talked about on Monday when they made the match. They pulled Rollins from the Hogan match, the Hogan and Flair tag team match, which is another waste in itself, because 3 weeks from that is the Survivor Series, which is built on surviving 5 versus 5, right? Yet they're doing it 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks before that. Awful. They booked this match on Monday, yet they drafted Bray Wyatt to SmackDown on Friday. So why is that? If you drafted him, he should be exclusive to SmackDown Live. Now people are saying, well, Fox drafted Bray Wyatt, but Monday Night Raw has drafted The Fiend. I didn't hear any announcement to saying that Bray Wyatt is two different fucking people. Is Bray Wyatt wrestling as Mr. Rogers? Or is he wrestling as The Fiend? Because we have yet to see Bray Wyatt in a WWE ring under his normal persona. So, if you want to give me that excuse, A, an announcement hasn't been made, and B, Bray Wyatt has only been in a ring as The Fiend. He's only showed up on a Titantron as Mr. Rogers, has yet to be in front of a live audience. So that explanation, that excuse goes right out the window. You want exclusive brands, yet you're breaking your fucking rule, and the draft isn't even in week 1 yet. We haven't even had week 1 of these shows being their own entities, and you're already breaking the rules of your own fucking draft. You're already breaking the rules of Fox, of what Fox wanted. Fox doesn't want to share The Fiend with Monday Night Raw, yet you're disobeying Fox Sports. I don't get it. If WWE was smart, they would leave Bray Wyatt on SmackDown Live and just end this Seth Rollins bullshit. They need to end this bullshit. Yet he's booked for November 4th. He's booked for most of November. And he's not going to be on SmackDown Live. Here's a clue, WWE. Here's a clue. Now, I know this might be very difficult to comprehend because you're all a bunch of blithering idiots. If you want people to take your product seriously, you need to start taking yourselves seriously. How does something so simple go completely unnoticed? How do you do something without actually thinking of what the fans are going to say? How do you do something without any repercussion or care for any repercussions? if you wanted this bullshit with Seth Rollins to continue, and you wanted Bray Wyatt to show up on Monday Night Raw to do God knows what with Seth Rollins, all you had to do, now this might be a shock to you, this might be so out there that you might not understand it. How about you leave Bray Wyatt? Are you ready? How about you leave Bray Wyatt as a free agent? How about you leave Bray Wyatt as a free agent? Now, is that too difficult to go out there and do? Now, if he was a free agent, now this might be a little troublesome for you. If he was a free agent and not aligned with SmackDown Live that we've seen his photo, his graphic with the SmackDown logo on Friday, which means he's exclusive to Friday. If we didn't see that, we would all be under the assumption. Commentary could have even pinpointed it on Monday. Oh, Bray Wyatt was not drafted to a brand. The Fiend can show up wherever he wants. That would have been the easiest out for you guys to take so that you could go and book your bullshit however you see fit until you're ready to put Bray Wyatt on a brand. Was that too difficult? Was that so difficult? Because you know people from this point on, all the way through November, are going to be complaining. Isn't Bray Wyatt part of SmackDown? Why is Bray Wyatt on SmackDown fighting for the Universal Championship? Here's WWE fucking up the rules of their own exclusivity and their draft. Do you not care about any of this? Folks, the WWE, at the end of the day, I don't know what else to say about this, are a bunch of blithering idiots. This is a circus run by clowns. That's all it is. And the same thing. The entire draft was made with errors like this. Triple H was on WWE Backstage. He announced a big move. You ready for this big move, man? This is so groundbreaking. It's shaking WWE to its fucking core. This move is so groundbreaking. You ready? Ready? A blockbuster trade. He announced on WWE Backstage on Tuesday on FS1. I didn't watch it. Some people said it was good. I didn't watch it, nor did I care about watching it. If Punk is not there, I don't give a shit. He revealed that Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross are now members of SmackDown Live. He didn't say anything about Raw getting any superstars in return, so it wasn't really a trade. He said there will be considerations for some future picks down the line. But right now it looks like Cross and Bliss are joining SmackDown. Folks, let's dissect this stupidity because I feel like I'm a fucking professor in a college classroom. Get your pencils out. Get your pens and pads out. Whatever the fuck your writing utensil is, get it out. If you want to smoke a bowl or a blunt during my class, so be it, man. Have at it. Whatever makes you concentrate on what I'm about to tell you. So, WWE goes into Monday, and they have the draft list, which they fucked up, by the way, because everything that was listed on .com showed up on the show in the same fucking order. All you had to do is use a little brain power and realize that Monday Night Raw had the first pick, so you can kind of go in the order of who's going to get who on what show. One of those picks was Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Now, because of WWE's fucking failure and their ineptness to give you something that was close to somewhat unpredictable, WWE thought that they were smart and slick. Oh, look, everybody figured it out. We made a mistake, so now everybody knows what's coming up. Let's flip the script on the fans. So when Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, who were drafted supposedly together, they were going to be one pick. Both of them were going to be one pick. WWE drafted Alexa Bliss, and she went to Monday Night Raw. Then Nikki Cross came back, and her turn came up. She went to Monday Night Raw. So, at that point on Monday Night Raw, none of that made sense because what WWE realistically did, what the USA Network executives did, is instead of drafting both Alexa and Nikki Cross like they should have done as one, they drafted them separately and wasted one pick, two picks, on two worthless individuals like Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. So they realistically wasted a draft pick by drafting both of them separately in order to kind of cover up the fucking blunder that they made earlier in the evening by releasing the list of superstars in the same fucking order that Stephanie McMahon was reading them off of on her cue cards. So they made that mistake, and then Triple H comes up on WWE Backstage and announces that Monday Night Raw had traded Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross to SmackDown Live for nothing. So not only did you waste a draft pick live on TV by drafting them separately when they were listed together, then you wasted them both? You wasted both picks by showing them to SmackDown, shoving them off to SmackDown Live, and then getting nothing for them in return. I don't know how anybody sits here. I don't know how anybody sits here and just accepts this garbage. I really don't. Like, you have to be the dumbest fucking idiot on this planet. Like, how are you even alive if you haven't conceived this thought? WWE thinks their fans are stupid. I am not, and neither are you. They're a bunch of idiots. This draft was a fucking failure. So they're getting considerations for some future picks down the line. I don't give a shit if you draft Jesus Christ and he comes down from the fucking heavens in the middle of the ring. Nobody's going to shave. Yes, I got to shave with Harry's because I look like a fucking bum. No one is going to save this show. So they're on SmackDown. Who gives a shit? I'm hearing, by the way, from my source that Alexa Bliss is, if you don't see her on TV and she shows up just standing in a corner randomly without doing anything, hurt again? Yeah. Hurt again? Yeah. Okay. So we'll see what happens with that one, but that's neither here or there. Then it was on the WWE's social media show, The Bump. I wish somebody would fucking take the bump and fucking just bump Vince McMahon out of his chair at Titan Tower. It was revealed where the remaining superstars will be going as part of the draft, as if you give a shit at this point. Folks, this is some fucking groundbreaking stuff. Monday Night Raw and the face of Monday Night Raw is going to be so different. My God, I can't wait to unleash this news to you guys. Monday Night Raw is getting No Way Jose. Monday Night Raw is also getting Mojo Rawley, Sarah Logan, the Iconics, and Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. Oh, my heart cannot contain this excitement any longer. SmackDown Live is getting Luke Harper, so they broke up Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. Go fuck yourself, WWE. They're getting Cesaro. Get a little golf clap. Maybe he'll be booked better over there, but I doubt it. Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. I wonder where I seen them last. SmackDown? Dana Brooke. SmackDown is in a free agent pool, and they take Dana Brooke. They sign Dana Brooke. What the fuck is wrong with you? And Drake Maverick. Then in an update and a roster move that was made later this week, WWE confirmed that AOP is headed to Raw. Authors of Pain are headed to Raw. So the good thing about this is that Drake Maverick is on SmackDown. So there you go. He's not going to be with AOP. So they're going to be on Monday Night Raw, and I guarantee you they will be in a feud with the War Raiders, the Viking Raiders Experience, the War Viking Raiders Experience, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Apparently, they are looked at by Paul Heyman as favorites of his, so I could see that happening. We'll see what happens. That should be a fun match. And every time I think there's something positive about to come out of the show, it ends up disappointing me, so I'm not even going to get excited. AOP's going to Raw, absolutely feuding with the War Raiders, no doubt about it. That's the only reason why they're moving over there. But man, those groundbreaking moves are unbelievable. Unbelievable. WWE separated Carmella and R-Truth in the draft. I'm not sure if you guys realize that. Dave Meltzer mentioned this on the Wrestling Observer Radio. R-Truth had to stay on Raw, but because Corey Graves got moved to SmackDown, Carmella had to go be with her boo on SmackDown. So if you're wondering why they are broken up, that's the reason. And also he mentioned that the R-Truth 24/7 bullshit fucking 7-Eleven hand me a hot dog with spicy mustard and Doritos with a Coke title. The reason why that title is staying on Raw is because it's a USA Network idea. So there you go. Fox has enough brains to realize, well, we don't want that shitty USA Network idea. Let's get rid of that. Keep that over there. We don't want this fucking childish garbage on our show. So Carmella's going to SmackDown because she's dating Corey Graves, and R-Truth is staying on Monday Night Raw because that's a 24/7 USA Network idea, and they had to be broken up. So there you go. So if you guys were wondering why Carmella and R-Truth were broken up, that is the reason. WWE has no future plans for Luke Harper. I don't even think that this is news at this point. I really don't. WWE did not grant Luke Harper a release. Dave Meltzer explained on the Wrestling Observer. You know who did ask for his release? I might as well mention this now that I mentioned the word release. Mike Kanellis asked WWE for a release. I'm not even reporting this as news because this is fucking ridiculous. The guy, I feel absolutely no sort of remorse for him whatsoever. I really don't. He signed a 5-year deal with the WWE. He signed for X amount of money, and he thought things were going to get better. Then he signs a 5-year deal. He expects things to get better. Nothing's getting better. And now he's asking for his release. I have so much left in the tank. I want to go out there and create blah, blah, blah. You didn't realize this under your first fucking run with the company? Instead of being greedy, you should have left in the first place and said, no, we're not going to sign. No, but you did it for the money. You did it because you got your wife pregnant again. And I feel absolutely no remorse for Mike Kanellis whatsoever. You reap what you sow. You got to sleep in the bed that you made, man. It's your own fault. You're too dumb to realize that the company fucked you over the first time. They didn't give a shit about you the first time. What makes you think that the company was going to give a shit about you in the second time now that they signed you to what is undeserved money? Give me a break. You should have realized what was coming. WWE signed you because they didn't want you to go anywhere else. You took the fucking money because it was too good to turn down, and you thought that things were going to change. And here you are, fucking being emasculated on Monday Night Raw. Your wife is in a storyline with, you know, your newborn baby, unborn daughter, or son, whatever the fuck it is. What is it, a boy? Who gives a shit at this point? And they're making a joke about it on live television. You are a fucking absolute 100% fucking pussy personified on TV. And instead of being greedy, you should have just left the company completely. That's all I have to say. I have no fucking sympathy for Mike Kanellis. None whatsoever. Seriously. WWE's not going to grant you your release. You're stuck. You're stuck. If they're smart, they'd release you because who the fuck would want to pay you? Luke Harper. He asked for his release. He got declined and they had time added on top of his contract. No mention of Luke Harper at all, which is very interesting. He's on SmackDown Live. They're not going to use him. When he came back, they had an idea or a couple of ideas for him up until the last pay-per-view. Basically, it was to set up that tag team match with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. And now nobody knows what's going to happen to Luke Harper. With Eric Rowan on Monday Night Raw, that nixes whatever they had going on with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns and pretty much splits what could be a quality tag team in a division that WWE needs tag teams to be legit. So that's that. Luke Harper is going to be a free agent come WrestleMania. He is absolutely on his way out the door. And finally, guys, before we get the hell out of here, Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is super, super, super duper high on Buddy Murphy. Yes, because he said the same thing about everybody else. Said the same thing about Ricochet, right? What happened to Ricochet? He's another loser on that show. Yes, I'm supposed to be all up on Buddy Murphy because Paul Heyman is super duper duper high on Buddy Murphy. Dave Meltzer mentioned on the Wrestling Observer Radio that it appears Heyman sees big things in Buddy Murphy and he is an amazing advocate to have backstage. He says this, and I quote, "Okay, so Buddy Murphy, Paul Heyman is super, super high on Buddy Murphy. Like I figured if he had input, probably more than anyone else, the guy I figured he'd get, or the guys I figured he would get, were Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black, and both of them ended up on Raw." End quote. Buddy Murphy held the Cruiserweight title for the longest, but has not done anything of note since leaving 205 Live, and he will do nothing on Monday Night Raw. I doubt we even see Buddy Murphy do anything on Monday Night Raw at all. Paul Heyman's big on Ricochet. Paul Heyman's big on AJ Styles. Paul Heyman is big on Braun Strowman. Paul Heyman is big on Bobby Lashley. Paul Heyman is big on Cedric Alexander. Paul Heyman's big on Drew McIntyre, right? Folks, before I get out of here and click the stop button as I record, Paul Heyman is big on all of these guys, which in real life, in a realistic fashion, it should mean a lot. But in reality, in the true form of reality here, Paul Heyman is big on all these guys, and they all have one thing in common. Though I love Buddy Murphy, and I think he's fucking phenomenal. Same thing with Ricochet, same thing with Cedric, same thing with Drew McIntyre. I'm high personally on all those guys. But what have we learned about Paul Heyman? He's high on all these guys, but the one thing remains the same. He's high on everybody Vince McMahon doesn't give a shit about. In the end, realistically, Paul Heyman is high on a bunch of losers. Paul Heyman is smoking that L. That's all he's doing. He's high on that L. He's high on those losers that Vince McMahon just doesn't want to push on any given week, and they will never be pushed. Paul Heyman is high on that L, and these losers will find no success on Monday Night Raw. Guys, I'm getting out of here. It's late. It's 11 o'clock on a Thursday, and I am spent. Thank you guys so very much for joining me here on the podcast. If you enjoyed it, let me know down below. And please, if you did, hit that rating. Give that like button a elbow drop off the top rope. And I mean, not a Bailey elbow drop, but I'm talking about a fucking Velveteen Dream Purple Rainmaker elbow drop off the top rope. Hit that like button and let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys missed anything that is on the channel right now, go and check it out. Links for all the videos that you might have missed will be down in the description of this very video. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. And make sure you guys go out there and support my sponsors, man. The Ridge, ridge.com/script. Use code SCRIPT for 10% off. And Harry's, harrys.com/script. Make sure you guys go out and support those guys. They are the ones who have been so big in this podcast success. Thank you guys so very much again. I will see you right back here on Sunday. We are going to blast Seth Rollins because it's one of my favorite things to do. All winter, we're going to keep ourselves warm by a nice toasty fire as we shit on Seth Rollins. That's going to be the theme of this holiday season. I can't wait. So thank you guys so very much. I'll see you right back here for another Seth Rollins hate fest on Sunday. And we should have a good time. But thank you guys so much again, and I'll see you right back here on Sunday for part 2 of Off the Script.